Welcome to Upside, and in this episode we talk to James Sutcliffe, the man who created the Founding Network, a collection of over 1,200 founders in a single community. In this episode we talk about why many founders become a bottleneck in their own business, why most should not raise money, and how to turn 6 months of mistakes into a 20-minute conversation. Does it make sense? Well, it will in a moment. Let's go. All right, welcome to Upside, and today on the show we have two men from Yorkshire, Leon and James Sutcliffe, the founder and CEO of the Founder Network. Welcome to the pod. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
No one is going to guess I'm from Leeds from my accent, by the way. They'll be like,
It's all right.
Yeah, I didn't get it either.
left there as a young kid. Family is still there.
You can take the boy out of Leeds.
But you can never take Leeds out of the boy.
There's probably some truth to that.
I love that. I know you actually don't often do many pods, so we're honoured to have you here.
I appreciate it. This is fun, by the way. Way more professional than I was expecting.
Yes.
Way more.
Brownie points.
Like it.
Well, to warm up, we could do a round of rapid fire questions, which Leon has very kindly whipped together. And so we'll start from there and then roll into the juice.
Yes, okay. So, summarize what it is to be a founder in 3 words.
Uncertainty, risk and reward.
Beautiful.
Oh, uncertainty, risk and reward.
so
I love
I
that.
don't know if they come together as well, so that feels like a cheat answer. But
That's perfect.
feels
That is a really good one. That's very true.
Okay, what's the first thing you do every morning?
So when this comes up, as I say, I think everyone's looking for a hack, and I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. So my day work starts with being jumped on, basically, and trying to survive, sorting the dog's food out, then sorting the kids out. And I get a bit of calm once Bluey's on. We do an episode of Bluey. In the morning.
I'm a big Bluey fan.
What time is this? Are you one of those guys who's like, I'm getting up at 5 a.m.?
Yeah, not by choice. This isn't a life hack. I wouldn't advise it at all. Yeah, it's between 5 and 6.
What is the best piece of advice you've ever been given, and who gave it to you?
It's not really a piece of advice, more like words of comfort in a way, is whenever things get tough, if it was easy, everyone would do it. And that's something my dad just always said to me. Whenever I was starting businesses or whatever I was doing, and I'd probably complain about it at some point, and his response was always, if it was easy, everyone would do it. And now I think that, and I'm like, that's so true, and builds a bit of a moat around you. So I probably didn't appreciate it when I was 25.
It's one of those that kind of just sits with you later on. You're like, oh, yes, that's the nugget.
I now say that to my team, by the way.
What is a business book you recommend that everybody thinks is overrated?
I don't have a good answer to this. So I read a ton of business books. I often think people over-rely on them. And it's a bit like talking to another founder or a mentor or whatever. So I feel like no book is bad if you go in with the right intentions and not expecting it to be a cure-all. So that's a terrible answer, but I don't have an answer.
There's no one-shot bullet that's going to fix everything because now you've read this book.
I should share with you at some point. So over like 3 or 4 years, I tracked all the books I read.
Oh, wow. That's sick.
But
That's
I only did
very
it
good.
so I highlighted the ones that I thought were worth reading again. I'm like, in 2 or 3 years, I should read
I'm going to
this
go back
again.
to these.
I should have brought it with me.
What?
I
Any
remember,
that come to mind that you're like, this one is on that list?
my one is From Good to Great. Or it might just be called Good to Great. That book is so good.
Anything that stands out from you stands out.
There's a thing in there where it's all around just having the right people on the bus and almost not worrying about if they're in the right seat. Like, just make sure you've got the right people, and then you'll figure out who should be where and whatever else. That out of all of it, that stuck with me.
Nice.
Really nice.
Okay, great.
That is really nice. LinkedIn, love it or leave it.
I actually love it. I like it. Like, and again, probably a love-hate relationship. But I think from a B2B standpoint, if you're B2B, you know exactly who you need to target. You can find them by name. You can start building that relationship with them. And then on the consumer side, it's all about brand awareness, but you can do the same thing with investors. So yeah, I love it from that standpoint.
What is one thing your co-founders or team would say drives them crazy about you?
One thing. Probably just the probably like most founders, number of ideas I have all the time. And as with any founder, like, every idea is the best ever. Like, every idea I have is going to be the one that I end up going off of a few days later, you know? And one of my faults is I can get into that rabbit hole pretty deep and pretty quickly.
How do you manage that actually? Because so many, I feel like there's like this, what's it called? Like the shiny thing. What's it called? Like, you know, they say crows are like drawn to the light and there's shiny thing.
Golden egg or something.
Yeah. And so like, I think a lot of founders have that. How do you manage it for yourself?
Now I think about the team.
Yeah.
So before it was more dangerous when it was just me or really small team, because I could run off and no one would tell me no. Whereas now I have to manage resource and their energy and their time. And once you've got someone engaged in the company and they love it and they're all for the mission, if you start messing with that by throwing out these different ideas or different directions, you can so easily lose their focus.
Yeah.
And that's really dangerous. And I've come close to that a couple of times, for sure.
Okay, fair.
I've got an idea for your team.
Love it.
So we also have a man like that who has many ideas, and he's sat to my right.
That might be him.
And what we brilliantly decided, myself and the team that helped to produce the podcast, is, do you know what? Let's get Al on the podcast to talk about these ideas, almost like deposit, mind dump his ideas. You can go back and watch the podcast. They are called Al's Wacky Business Ideas.
Oh, you actually did that?
We've got 2 episodes.
Is it business ideas as a whole or ideas for your business?
Business ideas. I've got like 2 in the bank right now, like in the chamber they came up with the last 2 days.
Perfect. Episode 3.
Yeah.
I do keep thinking about keeping a notebook or whatever to almost look, not to ever show anyone.
In my phone.
Yeah.
I have this whole notes
do
page,
that.
just business ideas.
But just to look through and probably laugh at yourself 2 years down the line. And
All right. So I want to go into origin stories because you started the founding network in the middle of COVID, baby on the way, big promotion on the table. What made you decide to jump and just try this whole new venture?
And I tell you, out of all those things, the really tough thing, by the way, was I loved my job too.
Yeah.
Like I really liked my job that I had that I've told you a little bit about. But I've always wanted to start a business, right? Like I've tried different little things on the side of businesses, never really had a go at it. And then it was while at my previous job, I came up with the concept for the Founding Network, which isn't a million miles off of the concept that I was doing at a previous company. So it was really hard to grapple with it. And I kept thinking, well, I could get this promotion. We could earn more money. I can keep doing this.
Stability, this is fun.
So with the leap, I started to think, and the thing that came to my mind was to start a business is the hardest point in my life it's ever been to start a business, but it is the easiest it'll ever be. And once I got that in my head, decision was made. Like I was so focused on it from that point. And to give that context, the thought was, why it'd be the easiest it'll ever be is, well, we might have another kid at that point. We have Ryan now as well. We might have a bigger house that we need to pay for. We got the dog. So life just doesn't get easier. So however, almost for, there's exceptions, almost for anyone, I think that rule is probably true.
It's just start. Now's the easiest time.
It's the hardest it's ever been. It's the easiest it'll ever be. Yeah.
Can you tell us more about the Founding Network as well? I'd love to kind of like really kind of understand the mission, the people who attend, everything about it.
Yeah, so when we started, it didn't really start as a business. It was just a small group of scaling founders, tended to be Series A plus founders, all scaling really aggressively, all needed far more efficiency. And in that group, everyone was a mix. They had previous experience. They were either accountants or in marketing or whatever it might be. But actually, when it came to their business, they suddenly had to be an expert in all of it. And it's obviously just...
It's a lot.
It's not the reality. So that then became my mission. I was like, right, well, how do we create this group then that truly is an expert in everything as a collective? So then no matter how niche your challenge at any given time, someone there can really guide you through it. And that's what we started to build out. So fast forward to today, we've now got around 1,200 founders involved, predominantly in and around London and across the UK. We're formally launching in the US in September. I am then planning to move out there next year as we expand across the US. So it's exciting. I love it.
That's super exciting.
Yeah.
Whereabouts in America?
So we're going to launch in New York, and then my family and I are going to move to the West Coast. So my wife and I actually met out there working on a surf camp back in the day, which
This
feels
guy's
like
been
a
everywhere.
feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah, the business law.
Yeah.
I love that.
So it's actually moving back to the little town where we met.
Oh, really?
Which is mad. Yeah.
That's super cool.
So cool.
This is really interesting because when you're a founder, it's there's this feeling of isolation as well, where you're by yourself, especially if you don't have a co-founder, where you're by yourself and you have to figure everything out and make it happen. This kind of overcomes that.
Yeah, and it's on. There's two folds to this, because there's the isolation piece you mentioned. And you're surrounded by people all the time, but it's not the people that understand what you're dealing with. One of our members put it so well the other day, and she basically said, everyone thinks founding a business is difficult because it's long hours, right? You're working weekends and evenings and 60, 80 hours a week. And she basically said that's not what's difficult about it. That's the bit you love. It's the work that you love. The difficult thing is the reputational risk, the financial strain, the not knowing if it's all going to pay off, the strain on relationships. And that is all really hard to discuss with anyone that's
who's not doing,
that's not in it, that doesn't get
those
it.
three words you mentioned, right? The uncertainty and the risk. That's two of the three, which right there. And especially when it's going hard, right? When it's not so easy, if you are completely by yourself, it's really hard to just keep going. You kind of need to have other people who are
so different. And look, this is why we filmed the documentary a couple of years ago, Founders Changing the World, and we did it to show that, because we're all so used to seeing Dragon's Den and all these business shows,
all the successes,
glamour, and it's all quick, and it's we just wanted to show the realities. And for us, the only way to show the realities was to show people around the founders. So we were at their homes and spending time with their kids and their spouses, and so as you can imagine, we were getting into financial strains and relationship strains. So at the end of every interview with the founders, we always said to them, why are you doing it? Like, why wouldn't you just get a nice, comfortable 9 to 5? And it wasn't always worded the same, but inevitably it was along the lines of, I wouldn't have it any other way. And it's just the way I'm wired, and the mission is bigger than what I'm feeling right now.
I have this very similar in a slightly different realm, which is like fitness. And I think they're both in a similar, they occur in a similar way. Like, you've got people who, for example, are training for a marathon, and they might commit their life to training for a marathon, and someone who isn't training for a marathon will be like, why are you doing this to yourself? I've got to run 34K at the weekend. Why are you doing this to yourself? And I guess sometimes it's just like, I don't know. I have to. That's how I have to do it. Like, I'll set a goal and I have to do it. And that's really hard to explain.
I tell you what's really interesting is when you speak to second-time founders. And I don't mean they've had a small business before. I mean, had real life-changing exits, and they're going through it again. And when you talk to them about why they're doing it, there's different reasons they're doing it, but some of them is they want to prove to themselves that it wasn't luck, that everything just didn't happen to fall into place, and they almost don't, they're proving it to themselves. No one's ever said it was luck.
Because it's not money, right? That's not a motivation second time
but they're
around.
putting themselves through all the stresses if they have no money, and they're not putting all their cash into the business. They're sort of financing it like they would a startup, and so that's a big part of it. But yeah, I think there's two sides though. Basically, I think there's the emotional, individual loneliness of it and how you solve that, and then there's the going back to the other side of how do you actually execute a business? How do you make
the
it
skills
work?
part of it?
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So you've spoken and worked with, like you mentioned there, over 1,200 founders, which is really impressive. What do you think is the single most common reason why most brands stall between 1 million and 5 million?
I can think of a few.
Okay.
I'll try. I'll give you one if you want one. But
We'll take as many as you want to. Throw us the sauce. Give us this alpha.
You can cut the rubbish ones out. But I think there's a few. I think one of them is there's a big role change for the founder in that space, right? I think from launch to around the million mark, the founder's the engine. They've got to really push everything and make it happen, and almost like bully their way through everything and just make it work. And then there becomes a weird shift where they go from that engine to the bottleneck within probably that 1 to 3, I'd say. And it takes a lot of founders time to realize that. And once they realize it takes time for them to accept it and start letting go and start delegating. So I think you see stall there. The other one I would say, and again, it kind of comes back to why we exist, is the speed at which they can move through critical moments, right? So they can do the job. Once you've got to 1 million, you can pull off, you can sell
whatever
whatever
service or
You've done
product.
pretty well.
You've proven it works and people are willing to buy it. But then up come team issues, legal issues, cap table issues, whatever it is. And I think a lot of founders are nervous to get the decision wrong, and that's right, because that can be harmful. But what we've seen has been more detrimental is if they stall. right? And if they stall for too long,
Yeah.
then it really harms the business. With a wrong decision, at least you learn something and it probably ends up pointing you in the right direction.
Yeah.
So again, the best way we think founders can get through that is to actually just speak to a founder that's 2 steps ahead.
Yeah.
And I think that the value of that is just compressing probably 6 months of pain and figuring it out into potentially a 20-minute conversation, right?
Yeah.
So the ones that are willing to do that and to get through these critical moments, I think that's what really accelerates it.
That's really interesting. This is going to sound like a plug, but this isn't a plug. I genuinely am interested in this. So is that how the founding network really kind of helps that way? Because I can find another founder who's kind of done that through the network and be like, hey, is anyone in the space? Can you share
Again,
some
like,
thoughts?
I don't want to plug this, so feel free
No,
to
it's
cut
okay.
it, but
Plug
just so
away
you know
because I
how
think it's
it
useful
sort
for
of works. So effectively, every month we go out to all the founders and we'll say, look, what are you stuck on today? Is it a team issue, capital, whatever it is. Our team then goes away and pairs them with another founder that we know has been through that and is well versed to guide them through it, and they put on a 1-to-1 Zoom call.
I love that.
So that is the crux and where the real value is of the founded network. But then that's also our secret sauce, because in real time we see what the challenges are and we can put together a pretty robust in-person session
super cool.
around what that is. So it's not the in-person events aren't guesswork.
Yeah.
I'd say.
Yeah. That's really interesting.
You mentioned there about the bottleneck, which I think is a really interesting point.
Yeah.
Do you find that the reasons for the bottleneck are commonly objective, or do you find that they're very subjective to the person?
I don't think it's subjective. I don't think they're aware of it for the most part at the beginning. So I think it is very objective in that everything still has to go through them. They're the ones that know how every part of the business works. Every decision has to go through them. So it probably becomes subjective to the team or investors or anyone around them before the founder. And I think that's not a criticism. I think that's just natural. They've had to play that role for the first however long of the business.
It's their baby.
Yeah.
I think I hate that a lot, because I get that vibe a lot as well, because it's kind of like founding to be willing to let go and give responsibility and control to other people. But then it goes back to your other point, which was make sure you got the right people on the bus with you.
Yeah.
And then you'll be able to figure it out.
So what about 10 million? Where's the difference there? What do you find the difference between people who plateau and people who go to 10 million? What are the new challenges now?
So for me, and by the way, we're still very much learning this in our business. Like, I know the theory of it, but we're still very much implementing it. Look, I spend all day, every day speaking with founders. Every one of them is overwhelmed at some point, if not most of the time. But actually, when you dig into it, it's not a workload issue. It's actually a priorities issue, right? And what we found is the ones that really break through and get to 10 million plus are not the ones that are doing more. In fact, they're probably doing less, but over a longer period. So what we found is those that get, whether it's a million or whatever the number is, but it really plateaus, is they're still playing with 5 different channels and trying to make them work and seeing what's next. And then you speak to someone that's really scaling and pushing through that 10 million mark, and they're working with 1 or 2 channels and just obsess over it, though. Like, really obsess over it. I see that time and time again. And again, that's not to say it's easy to just do, but that's the observation.
I find that's a problem, and that's really useful for, well, not only founders, but people in like a lot of jobs, especially in the Amazon space, I feel. Because even with my day-to-day job, one of the big things I'm trying to focus on at the minute is prioritization. Yeah. Because there's so many things that you can work on, like you mentioned, and avoiding time filling. Because it's so easy to fill your time. And again, I'm not a founder, so I can't speak from that perspective, but working on Amazon, and anyone who's watching who works on Amazon will know this as well. It's so easy to just time fill. Yeah, I guess, have you learned any systems that work for avoiding time filling? How can someone look at a list of tasks, and what criteria would they use to prioritize?
I think it's just looking at delegation for the most part. Like, if another member of the team can make it happen, even to 70, 80% effectiveness, then they probably should. And again, easier said than done. And for a founder, they should only be focused on what moves the needle, right? Yeah. Like, and again, I'm massively guilty that I get caught up in all sorts, and I know in the back of my head. So I think it's just looking at what's going to move the needle. And then the other thing that just sprung to mind as you were talking about Amazon, and what massively contradicts what I've just said, is actually de-risking the business. So particularly e-commerce businesses, if they're really focused on Amazon or have one or two channels, the risk becomes, well, what happens if Amazon changes their policy, or Meta changes how they work, or whatever it is. So actually, if you are looking to an eventual exit, you want to de-risk the business. And that kind of goes against exactly what I've just said. So I think it's a bit of both, depending on the state of the business at the time.
There's some context there, right? It's not just like a one rule for everything.
I think I know the answer you're going to give to this question based on what we've spoken about so far, and I think it's going to be, I'm predicting it's going to be delegation and people on the bus. But what do you find is the most underrated growth lever that a lot of founders underestimate?
I think it goes back to sticking with the strategy that works.
Okay.
So I don't think it's necessarily delegating, but
I was wrong.
Well, I probably would have said that. I changed it because you said that. I'm not going to let this guy win. So I think it's, and again, this goes back to founder ideas. Like, everyone wants the new silver bullet. Everyone wants the new strategy, even though you have one or two strategies that have been working that you could double down on. So again, we tend not to see businesses go out of business because they've sent one too many emails when the emails have been working. But we do see them fail when they've changed strategy every 6 months consistently. And it just doesn't work. And again, it disengages the team and whatever else. So yeah, I think it's actually just sticking with what works. And again, I'm saying that, but a lesson I need as well.
It's me too. I'm terrible with that. So, I'm so bad. I'm like, let me try this next. I'm like, God, just stick with the first thing you tried.
It's the silver bullet. Like everyone just wants the silver bullet.
The next shiny thing.
Yeah.
So the founding network is 1,200 members strong and it's growing. No doubt there's been lessons you've learned along the way. Are there any things that you wouldn't do again if you were starting from scratch?
I don't know if I wouldn't do them, but there's some things where I'm like, it's kind of questionable. So I'll give you one.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the learnings are from this, but just quite a funny story. So when you're trying to start a network and you don't have a network, right? Like, that's the hardest thing in the world. So we ended up we got a deal with an out-of-homes company, so for billboards. And we basically found names of founders and they were like famous, like borderline famous founders of big companies you'll know. Yeah. We got 6 or 7 of them, found out where their offices were, got all the billboards around the offices, and put their name across this billboard saying, so-and-so, we want you, we're a group of founders just like you, join us, found a number, and put a number.
That's so sick. I love that.
Put a number way higher than we had, right? Okay. Like in the hundreds, and we probably had 10 at the point.
I love that.
And I tell you what it worked for. Like, we never thought we'd hear from the people, but we thought other people would see it and be like, that's who's in that network. I need to join that. Yeah. So it worked from that point of view.
Crazy.
That's so cool.
Every founder that we put on there, we heard from them within 45 minutes of them going up because they were getting calls and texts and emails. 2 of them were really not happy and we had to take it down immediately. That's why I'm saying that we probably wouldn't do that again.
Yeah. Okay. But it's
quite a good idea, quite a funny story.
So
but
smart. Have you seen the film Focus with Margot Robbie and Will Smith?
No. I saw that ages ago and hated it. But
really?
Yeah, go on.
Well, they like subconsciously show this guy the number 55 all day. He doesn't know it's happening. Yeah. It's all like about scam artists and whatnot. So then when he sees they make a bet, and it looks almost organic that he's made this bet, and he sees a player 55 on the...
Isn't there a couple of magicians that have done that as
Mentalists.
well? Yeah. Whereas think of any animal and they give this obscure animal and it's because they've tracked them all day and they've been...
Yeah. How do you think of an idea like that? Because I'm sure so many people are thinking, that's so cool. How does one think of that idea? That's impressive.
I actually don't, like, we were just a bit desperate at the time. We were thinking, how do we get them?
I love the move because that's also not a cheap move. It's like, I mean,
we managed to get a deal. So we were like, look, we went to this out of home company and we said, look, we'll put you in front of our network, which was of a questionable size at the time. So
I love that.
We got it. I want to say we got it for like £75 a billboard, like for 2 weeks.
What?
Like, for nothing. And as I say, we got it for 2 weeks, and 2 of them lasted a day. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Still, I love that idea.
And then
that's so Guerrilla.
The other cock up as well at that phase. So we just launched. The billboards were up. We managed to get in Time magazine. We had a page in Time magazine, like all this, like, so we hired a couple of people, all was going really well. And this is over Christmas, right?
Yeah.
And I come across this company, and again, I won't say the name, but they had our logo. And I'm furious. I'm so angry, so mad. Look into it. They've been running and had that logo for 15 years. We'd stolen their logo. And we'd had just a Fiverr designer design this logo. So literally within 48 hours, we had to redesign everything. We had to go to Time.
We do all the branding.
Time couldn't do anything. But we had to redo everything. And then these new starters started at the company, and we had to explain to them why we said we had a different look. And it was, of course, at the time, it was what it is. It was the right time to rebrand. And but not good.
That's crazy. Did the other company ever?
I don't think they ever found out.
That's really interesting. I love that.
I'm going on a bit of a rant here with this, but we also had a load of merch. So we had umbrellas and jumpers. We had everything with this logo. So I ended up driving around London, and we made a big campaign out of we're rebranding. So we went out and gave it all to homeless people, right?
Yeah. And there's all these homeless people walking around with the umbrellas and the.
But like certain parts of London, it's hard to tell who's homeless and who's a millionaire. Like we offended 2 or 3 people, like asking them if they wanted them, and they're like, no, I don't want your bag of stuff. There's no learnings in that, but just a funny story.
No, that's awesome. Just no one with red pants on.
Yeah.
Also, I don't think we can keep this in, by the way, but like, surely if loads of people are seeing your brand,
the logo of homeless
people, they're going to be thinking.
I'll tell you in a minute who the other company was, and they really wouldn't like that.
So, again, in our segment here of honesty, is there a type of founder that genuinely shouldn't raise money?
I think most shouldn't raise money, right? Okay. Like,
oh, I love that.
I think if you are wanting to scale a business and truly understand what that means, and I mean really understand what that means, like talk to other founders who have tried it and succeeded, and talk to them that have failed as well. If you fully understand that and that's what you want, and you want to be that unicorn brand, then go to VCs and raise that money. If you are the kind of person who is going to get offered £20 million for your business, £30 million for your business, and all your cap table and now board are going to say, don't take it.
No,
because we're in it for the long haul, and you're going to be okay with that. Because we've seen that as well, where they've said no at that point, and then they've gone out of business in the next round. So in that case, no, not unless you're fully in it. And then the ones that really shouldn't is, even if that's what you're going for, we hear about founders that are raising to solve a problem, right? And like try to band-aid it. And it just doesn't fix it. Like what we found is that growth covers up all the issues. But if the founder has insecurities around cash flow, or whether the product's good enough, or whether anything, that all comes to light as soon as that growth slows down. So no, I think there's this massive thing where it's really celebrated and whatever else.
Yeah. It's meant to be this big glamorous thing. I'm going to get my Series A, or I've got my angel investor, and now I'm legit. I've just raised X number of million.
I guess it's just good they can do an Instagram post that says my company is valued at 18 billion because I've just got.
Well, I tell you the other tough thing for founders in the UK and Europe. So I don't know if you saw, there's an article of Paul Graham talking about how investors move so much quicker in the US, and he was basically saying it's not because they're better, it's because there's more competition. And I started to think about that from the opposite point of view. I was like, well, in Europe there's not enough investors, so it means founders have to jump at the checks. So again, unless you're sure of why you're raising, if you go into it and you get offered a check, you're going to end up jumping at it, not fully looking at the terms, and just to stick a plaster on whatever the issue is. I just think founders need to be really sure about it and not pressured into it at the wrong times, under the wrong terms.
Yeah. What kind of, it's interesting because it's got me thinking, okay, if you're finding that a lot of founders are making the mistake of getting funding, what do you typically see a trend of what they spend that money on?
Yeah, it's easy to start over hiring, over expanding territories, over extending the product line. It's easy to get into that. And again, going back to why we exist, it's actually those moments, so moments of growth, whether it's funding or moments of growth, where I think you actually need to be speaking to other founders. That's where the expensive mistakes are, right? I think a lot of people think, oh, you need other founders when things aren't going well. I'm like, not really. Like, the expensive mistakes are when things are going well.
Yeah. I love that. So many times with our own businesses, I've always thought I'd love to talk to someone who is a few steps ahead of where I am and be like, this is how you should look to adjust and structure your agency, or this is how you should look to structure the company for sales or whatever it is. And because they've already been there, they can look at like a pitch deck and go, oh, you're missing this, this, and this. Because I look at it now having done this for over a decade now, I can look at a business and be like, oh, you're missing this, this, and this.
Yeah.
You're going to trip up on this bit. Your pitch deck is missing this, and a buyer is going to ignore you because of this.
But this is what I'm saying. So you would say, by saying that to someone, you condense that into 20 minutes, and it would take them 6 to 12 months of mistakes, a lot of money.
Or just money. Like so many, I was on a call with someone, and I was like, hey, have you just checked the trademark, the IPO register, to see if your logo or your brand name, you can actually produce the product, like your packaging? Going on, check it. They're about to spend £12,000 on packaging. And like, actually, someone else has trademarked that exact same thing in the exact same class.
Yeah, it's funny though, isn't it? Because I always think with agencies or service providers or whoever it is, there's always this pressure if they're working with scale ups to work at scale up pace. But I actually think there's a role in there for them where they should slow the founders down for a second and be like, actually, you need to look at it this way or that way. But like whether you work with us or not, I would be looking at it in this way.
Yeah, exactly. A very kind of like honest founder to founder or whatever it is.
That's massively valuable if it's the founder.
So the founding network is now, and I know I said it a few times now, 1,200 founders. What's next for the founding network?
So the expansion's the big thing. So with the US, that's going to become huge for us. I think it's exciting for us as a business, but what it does for our members here in the UK is so many of them look to the US to expand. And it means we can do the same thing for them. So they're looking to get into retailers in the US. We will have the connections for them. They want the investors out there. We've got the connections for them. So that for me is so exciting from a number of standpoints. And as always, just continue to tighten up what we do here. So, and again, for us, when we're looking at international expansion generally, we look at where VC money is deployed around the world, and that tends to dictate founder density. So you can imagine there's sort of 5 or 6 in the US. There's a handful that are non-English speaking, so we will wait for those just to pick our battles. But then there are a couple of more exciting cities as well. I'm thinking Austin and Dubai, where they're not on that list, but it's maybe we should look at those as well. So I'm excited for that for sure.
All right, James, it's been awesome having you on. I could easily keep talking to you about this because there's so much founder-to-founder conversation that I would love to just roll through with you. However, for the people at home
or wherever
you are, car, run, toilet, wherever you are, if you could just tell the peeps, how can they get in touch with you? How can they get involved in the Founding Network?
Yeah, look, come direct to me, james@thefoundingnetwork.com. I just love talking to founders. So yeah, up for a conversation, if nothing else.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And if you were going to say there's someone else we should have on the pod, who else would you recommend?
I would recommend one of our members who's been involved for some time, a guy called Oliver. He founded Switchbike, one of these put their pack on any road bike and it becomes an electric bike.
I saw the YouTube ads.
Oh,
this is a Switch bike, and this is a Switch bike. Oliver, I've seen your videos. Thank you for targeting me on YouTube.
So Oliver is a marketing whiz, like incredible on the marketing side, but he's also a trained accountant and works as a CFO. Like just
nice.
He can talk in detail about anything, and he's so articulate the way he talks as well. So yeah, get him on for sure.
Awesome. Oliver, hopefully see you soon.
Cool.
Well, that's the pod.
Thank you so much.
And thanks, James.
That was awesome. Leon smashed it.
One love.
Thank you.
Absolutely smashed it.
One love.
One love.
Doesn't sound the same in my...
One love.
One love.